Welcome to the enhanced online version of Brave New Digital Classrooms, which is an application of technology in service of foreign language learning and second language learning. I'm Robert Blake. I'm professor of Spanish linguistics at the University of California, Davis, and I'll be your host for this series of video conversations that will accompany each of the chapters of the online text. For each chapter, you're going to hear from a series of experts who will comment on various aspects of topics that are covered in the text. You'll hear from people who are extremely well known, such as Claire Kramsch, Rick Kern, Phil Hubbard, and also some new voices, graduate students who are working in this area of computer-assisted language learning, who will be important voices and well-known voices in the very near future, like Gabriel Guillen and Paul Rama. I hope that these videos will complement what you're reading in the text, and let me talk a little bit about the first chapter of Brave New Digital Classrooms. It's a chapter in which I bring up numerous issues that have to do with maybe misconceptions or myths that surround technology. Perhaps the biggest myth is that if suddenly you adopt technologies or start using certain programs or have call programs, that your teaching will immediately improve. Technology is really not a method. So there's nothing that can replace good planning, good lesson planning, and well-designed task-based lessons and activities for the students. Technology can assist the teacher in implementing these student-centered activities, but nothing is going to replace what is the well-thought-out lesson and the well-planned activity. Another myth or certainly worry that teachers have about technology is that the use of technology is going to replace teachers. There's a great deal of fear that the administrators are going to use online classes to eliminate programs. And in fact, in some cases this has happened, but not out of any good motivation on the part of the administrators. The administrators were probably intent on cutting the classes in the first place. The online learning requires just as much human planning, just as much syllabus planning, and just as much effort on the part of the students and on the part of the teacher. So really there's nothing saved in that sense. What has been added with the distance learning, language learning, is an increased access, because suddenly people can take language when they have busy work schedules, family schedules, life schedules, travel is involved in their workplace, and they no longer have to come at a particular time and place. And this increases access, and this is going to become increasingly important in our society. So I think we all have to keep in mind that technology is here to stay. Our students are using technology, different technological tools all the time, and that this year's technology is going to change rapidly and not be the same as what is next year's technology, and we have to keep abreast of all of this. So what we're going to do in the following chapters, in Chapter 2, we're going to turn to Claire Kramsch to talk to us about how we can use the internet to teach culture and what complexities are involved in using the internet to teach culture. In Chapter 3, we're going to turn to Phil Hubbard, who's going to talk to us about a criteria for evaluating call software. In Chapter 4, we're going to ask Rick Kern, who has a great deal of experience in doing telecollaborations and CMC, computer-mediated communication exchanges with students both here in the United States and in France. In 5 and 6, I'm going to tackle the issues of constructing task-based activities in the technological context, and also talk about distance learning for language, respectively. In Chapter 7, we're fortunate to have Gabriel Guillen, who's going to talk to us about tandem learning, autonomous learning, and the rise, almost explosion, of social networks. And finally, in the last chapter, we're going to turn to Paul Rama, who has been investigating using games and gaming to teach language learning. Thank you for joining us, and let's get into the text of Brave New Digital Classroom.